One thing that I think is kind of under the radar, not really focused on amongst us recovering is the idea that eventually we're going to have to transition back to the real world, quote unquote. Meaning we're going to have to eventually say goodbye to our Benzo family. And oftentimes this is needed at least just for a short period of time, just so that we can kind of fully break through that trauma response cycle that's been happening. And I often say, if you were at war and you came back from war and you had experienced some trauma, the last thing you need to be doing is watching war films, talking to war buddies, going to, listening to podcasts on war, joining Facebook groups with people that have been through profound war and lost lives and people they've loved and been greatly injured or dealing with massive disorders or mental illness or, as a repercussion. Like what you need is a kind of an insulated, protective environment for a sustained period of time. Because your limbic system, this great memory recaller, is always looking for some kind of evidence, something to draw back and link to whatever it was that almost killed you, whatever it was that jeopardized your survival, in this case, benzos. So even as something as similar as, or seemingly innocent as just talking to your friends in the benzo forums, at a certain point can really become an anchor, can actually keep you sick. Because they're all subtle. No matter how much you love them or how much relief you get, and you got to be careful because rumination, you get relief via rumination, and that's actually bad for you, but it feels good. It's kind of a wolf in sheep's clothing there. But if you stay in these forums, you stay in this community, if you're still texting people and you're still hearing their horrific stories and you're giving them hope and you're fighting the good fight, and God bless you for it, right? You're doing the great work. But ask yourself this, are you ready for it? Is it helping you? Or is it hurting you? And if it is hurting you, if it is poisoning you, even on a small level, then it may be time to break away for a little bit. Create that environment that's benzo free, right? I mean, to me, the ideal situation of recovery at some point, there's this process, this period, the no benzo zone, if you will, where I say, stop even talking about it. And I don't mean avoid it. I'm not talking about avoidance because that's bad. We shouldn't avoid things that you're afraid of or you're anxious over. That usually builds, a worse response by default. But create an environment that's conducive to your recovery. That's stress-free as much as possible, especially stress and trauma as it relates to this damn thing that you've gone through. And that may, of course, mean that you have to take a period where you got to get away from the forums. You got to stop talking to those people, even if they're your friends that the ones that just trigger you, that they're send you that text. And again, you love them. You're a good person. You want to be there. But you got to save yourself at some point, my friends. You really do. And, this is a very subjective question. Is this time for you to do that? Or is that time coming? Or has that time passed? Should you have done this a long time ago? And, and if the answer is yes, then take 3 to 6 months, I would say, to just insulate your environment. No more benzo talk. I mean, this is especially true for people post-benzo. No more benzo talk. No more talking about it. Like I said in another video, learn to separate the fear from anxiety, right? It's like being a cancer survivor. We don't have to keep saying the word cancer. We don't have to keep talking about it and reliving it and searching for it and all of that response. So, part of the benzo recovery process is sort of reintegrating back into the real world. It's really a transitional period, guys. I mean, it's a dynamic transitional period as you're learning to sort of drive your cars again and, go grocery shopping or having a lunch with friends and keeping it together. And you're practicing these skill sets in therapy and everything you've been working on. And you're slowly trending in the right direction and you're getting better. This is where we have to sort of let go of the war, right? And we have to transition and recognize that it's a transition back into the quote unquote real world, the benzo-free world, right? We don't need to talk about it with everybody. We don't need to explain ourselves. We don't need to keep defining it, and at this period, especially. We just need to sort of give ourselves a benzo vacation. and just focus on what it means to heal and be happy as a feature of our life, not as a constant analysis and definition of benzo. But just get back to trying to be happy again, trying to be peaceful, trying to be, less stressed, and again, let go of all the fear and all the trigger and trauma responses of the benzo nightmarish hell that you just endured. Right? Now, I can't tell you, this goes case by case, right? For every one of us, I don't know where you are. If you're hearing this and wondering, are you at that period? I don't know. I will tell you it's usually after a sustained amount of time off benzos, and you start to feel it in your instincts. You feel in your gut that, man, every time I start to feel good, but then I get on this or I talk to these people, and boom, it all comes rushing back. And this can be, and this is what's very difficult about it, is again, that rumination is like an addiction. It really is. And so you can start to mistake the two. You can mistake the feeding of that addiction with, I'm getting something positive out of this, right? It's almost like the guy that goes to the bar and has some drinks after a stressful day at work. Hey, this is helping. But is it? Or is it hurting you worse? You know what I mean? And now you can always come back like I did. I did come back eventually. And I was much more healed. But I will say, even after I came back, even after all my progress and everything, there still was a period there where it was very triggering, to say the least, guys. It was like, I was doing like almost trauma work again. And I thought, wow, I had kind of sweated this out, and I thought I had worked through all of this. But hearing all of it again, and hearing it on I hear it on a level of suffering all around the world in states that, you wouldn't believe at this point, as far as how severe this stuff can get. And you hear it, and you hear the tragedies and the stories and the symptoms, and it was heavy on me. And I had healed so much. I thought I had more than healed. I had worked so much on myself and had come so far and was even better than I was before benzos. But it still had this trauma response for me. There was still this sort of like digging old wounds, So you have to ask yourself, is this that period that you're at? Is it time now that you need to start transitioning back into the real world? And in a sense, it's kind of sad because you got to say goodbye to your benzo family and your friends for a little while, at least for a little while. 3 to 6 months, a year, maybe 2 years, maybe a few months, maybe a few weeks. I don't know. But give it a try. If you're there and you think that's what you should be doing, your instincts are probably right. Create an insulated environment. Create a safe, benzo-free vacation-like life for yourself, and get lost doing that. Get lost with the gardening and the exercise and all that, and learning to separate the fear from the anxiety, learning to implement your skill sets on bad days, learning to ride the windows on good days, and let go of benzo. Let it go. Stop talking about it. Stop thinking about it. Stop defining it. Stop defining every symptom or whatever happens in your life as an operation of comparing and contrasting from benzos. It's obsessive. It's a compulsion, and it's a learned addiction, and it's trauma response, and it's a hell of a lot of things. And it takes work, and it takes time, and it takes a really delicate, gentle, loving touch.
Run away, I don't have to plan it. I can go change my fate. You